You're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Hey, Pharmacy Podcast Nation. Welcome back to RxFusion.live. What a show today. I have to give thanks to Ken Sternfeld, my partner in crime and co-host, for putting this show together today. Ken, this is all you today. You designed this from the ground up, and you've went out and found some amazing guests today. So I want to just thank you right from the beginning.
Thank you. I'm the Lauren Michaels of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I put these live events together on Friday, Pharmacy Friday, and we have a really dynamic kind of conversation from a lot of different perspectives. Women's first, we welcome Ashley Clevens from Ashley RX, and also Rich Purcell. Rich is a new friend of our company and the Pharmacy Podcast Network, brings a tremendous perspective on what's happening now with vaccines and COVID. And, I don't know about you, Todd, this COVID thing is still on the top of everybody's mind.
Yes, absolutely. That's all that we're hearing about, and backing up some of the issues that even health system pharmacies are going through. I've had some ongoing talks with the last 2 weeks with Allegheny Health Network here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Dr. Laura Mark and her team. I'm going to be visiting them again, but they'll be featured on RX Fusion coming up sometime in January, which we'll know, but we'll have a health system pharmacist theme. But yeah, she was telling me about the difficulty that COVID has made on their department and the cascade of problems that it creates. So it's relative, and it's also much more real today than it was 9 months ago.
Absolutely. Well, I reached out to Ashley, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her kind of indirectly through the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And Ashley is, I'll call her an engagement specialist. What she does is she just inspires and motivates people to do more with what they are. So to me, she's the Moana of the pharmacy industry.
My daughter would love that.
Yeah. Well, every Pharmacy Friday, Ashley and Rich, I start at the house of my two youngest granddaughters, Leia and Hannah, and we watch Moana. Or up until that, it was, of course, Frozen, and the Elsa and the Anna story. But when she got into Moana, I really felt that it was my story, because I wanted to go as a pharmacist past the island. I wanted to go past the breakers. There was something more out there. And it was just in my blood that I had to do more than flip burgers at CVS Pharmacy as a retail pharmacist. So I actually went through those waters, and I went out there, and then I found, you're welcome, I found a real new way for a pharmacist to practice and to collaborate with a physician and do more than just count the pill, because we really need to be healthcare providers, and it's not about being recognized. So when people are telling me about, Kenny, what do you do as this concierge pharmacist thing? I just say, well, I like to connect with people, and I like to let them know that we're here to help them. And that's what a pharmacist is, and that's what a pharmacist should always be. So when I meet people like Rich Purcell, and I look at the amazing things that GenRx is doing, and again, working, and he'll tell you about it, they're not a regular traditional biotech company, which is why I was excited that we had the opportunity to speak with them, because so much is happening in COVID. But Rich, if you'd be kind enough to share what you're doing from the entry level, or the pediatric side. Your company is extraordinary. When I look at my daughters and my granddaughters, I say, wouldn't it be nice if we could know from the very beginning about what to do and the right drug and the right dose and the right treatments in COVID? So can you share with our audience a little bit about your background, a little bit about GenRx, and of course, new GenRx, which is kind of the next wave of where you're taking the company?
Sure. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you, Ashley. Patient engagement is a big part of what we're trying to do at GenRx as a whole. I'm the executive vice president of research and development at GenRx, but I'm involved across the company in trying to put a little bit of a spin on the biotechnology industry and not just be a one-trick pony developing one drug to get it through the FDA. GenRx is a long history. We've been a public company for 25 years. And back in 2017, Joe Moscato, our CEO, and I took control of the company to transform it into a new kind of healthcare provider, which is where we've gotten into this pharmacy business in the past. And the pharmacy business has changed quite a bit over the last several years in response to the consolidation. Family pharmacies have a very difficult time. Independent pharmacies have an impossible time competing in the marketplace anymore. So what you were just saying struck a chord with me, Ken, because it's our model is a collaborative effort between doctors, patients, and the services that they need to stay healthy. I've been involved with patient engagement through the phone since 2012. I've been working in this space, and reimbursement's always been a problem for all the telehealth solutions that are out here right now. But I think we've got a little change going on with COVID, acceptance of telehealth, seeing that telehealth can be used effectively to monitor. We have a remote monitoring program called New Gen Health that we do remote patient monitoring with devices Bluetooth connected to manage populations, as well as to do chronic care management. And the federal government and CMS has really forwarded the reimbursement models to enable chronic care management to happen. So integrating care among doctors, patients, and pharmacists is really important, because taking your drugs, compliance, is a big issue about staying healthy.
Agree.
Yeah, so we've got a whole program in Arizona that we're setting up right now to look at a collaborative care model between big primary care practices and endocrinology practice and our technology solutions to provide this holistic integrated care. And then we'll plug in ancillary specialty services like ophthalmology, podiatry, these services that every diabetic needs as per CMS guidelines, and we plug them into a collaborative care model under a single roof. So, Generex has always been a development company with focus on diabetic products. We have a product that was in phase 3 and the protocol didn't work out, but the product works. We have a new formulation. It's a buccal insulin spray called Oralin. Anybody that's been following the diabetes marketplace over 20 years knows about Oralin. But that trial did not come out positive. It was focused on type 1 diabetics. And we've reformulated this drug, and eventually when we get the company completely turned around and this model put in place, we'll have patients to reinvigorate that development program with a buccal insulin spray. And we'll be able to then, you're pulling my website up, that move that forward. So let's talk about COVID, since you're putting this COVID screen up now. Another part of the company is, and the development part of the company that's really exciting, is new Generex Immuno-Oncology. And because that development company doesn't fit necessarily within a healthcare model, we have spun new Generex Immuno-Oncology off as a separate public company. It's not trading yet. We hope to get that soon, but we spun new Generex Immuno-Oncology off, focused on our II-Key technology. II-Key is a short amino acid sequence that, when attached to the epitope of a virus or a cancer marker, virus like coronavirus or a cancer marker like HER2 in breast cancer, people have heard of that, you can generate an immune response against that epitope that you connect to our II-Key. And we've been in immunotherapy for 20 years. Immunotherapy might be the hottest thing in the world right now, but we've been in it a long time. And we've got data on the safety and the potential efficacy of our vaccines, because we know how we regulate the immune response. So we've been focused on breast cancer and prostate cancer with our lead product called AT-37. But when coronavirus hit, the technology was originally developed for infectious disease. And we said, well, we have to do this. We have to try. And we did. And we put a whole application into BARDA. I pulled together a lot of contractors to do the work. We don't have a big organization. We're not a big pharmaceutical company, but my background, you asked about my background. My background, I ran clinical research organizations for 17 years. I'm a protein biochemist by training. But I've worked in drug development for 30 plus years. And by running CROs and being on that contracting side, I understand basically how to contract pharmaceutical development. So I call myself a GC. I'm a pharmaceutical GC. Instead of building houses, I build drug development programs. And we've got this technology, the IIT, and we put it towards COVID-19 when it emerged back in February. And we knew that we had a shot at this because the technology allows rapid development of vaccines against pathogens and emerging pathogens. We partnered with a company called Epivax. They have computational vaccinology algorithms. I like saying that. And they have identified a series of epitopes from the SARS virus that will purportedly activate the immune responses that we're looking for. So we made those IIT epitope potential vaccine molecules, and we've now been testing those. The nice thing about IIT epitope vaccines is that they're made of amino acids. They're peptides, but a lot of peptides have failed in vaccine trials, so we don't talk about peptides because people don't believe it. But IIT is a supercharger of peptides. And these are synthetic. They're made from amino acids. And when you put them in people, they don't cause any problems. We know that. We have 10 years of data and safety data, and even effectiveness data we've shown in clinical trials in breast cancer and in prostate cancer that we generate an immune response that is long lasting, and it doesn't cause any kind of long-term side effects at all. So when we're talking about the current vaccines, RNA, DNA vaccines are genetic material. We don't know long-term effects of them. They are using the entire spike protein for their vaccine. And what we have with the IIT and the targeted epitope selection process that we're going through, we're screening human convalescent serum to determine which of those IIT epitopes are active and activate the T helper response and bind to antibodies. So we make this complete vaccine that generates a cellular and a humoral antibody response to protect against COVID. Very specifically, very targeted. And from a pharmacy standpoint, you guys have to deal with vaccinating people and dealing with a vaccine that's now has to be at minus 80. It's a live viral vector. And ours is a lyophilized powder at the end of the day with amino acids in it. So the safety and the ease of use at the end of the day with our vaccine and the targeted approach of the directed regulatory immune response rather than these off-target responses that coronavirus causes, all these immunological responses that corona causes, blood clots, endothelial dysfunction, cardiovascular issues, neurological problems. There's a big article in the New York Times about the long haulers of COVID, and these long-term immunological effects that are being experienced by COVID patients have potential to be triggered just by a whole spike vaccine as well. So we feel that we have a safer vaccine that is, from a commercial standpoint, much easier to store and transport and use in a pharmacy setting. You're used to giving flu vaccines. You can use the same type of approach with ours when we get it through the FDA. And that's why we're working with some of the leading pediatricians in the country to help us design pediatric trials and get these vaccines into kids. Kids have been shown to not have severe disease. When they do, it's very severe. It's like Kawasaki disease, vascular dysfunction and blood clotting. But they're spreaders. And I don't know if anybody has ever had teenagers, but you can't control them and keep them from getting together. And they're turning into the super spreaders. In school, you saw it with college. Everybody went back to school. All the kids got it. And then they sent them home. So all the parents got it. And the vaccination of the adolescent population from high school all the way through college, I think, is one of the most important areas. They're just starting the trials right now, so we're not that far behind here. And we have this pediatric advisory committee with some very well-recognized key opinion leaders in the field to direct us to how to get this into the hands of adolescents and pediatrics and pregnant women too, because pregnant women have a 70% greater chance of mortality than non-pregnant women if they get COVID. So these are the types of things we're doing, and we're focused, we're targeted, and we're a safe vaccine alternative to genetic vaccination.
Well, we thank you for that overview and that service, because you are able to get it to market quickly, because based on your history, you don't have to go through the animal testing and the toxicology screenings, and you're able to get to that pediatric market, which we believe. We had interns who were with us on rotation, one Alana Martin, who she worked in a daycare center, and she was with us in February and March on a rotation remotely. And she said, I worked there and I know we need to vaccinate the children. But no one was looking at it then, and you were and are. And Ashley, who inspires, I want to just also invite Keri Mastro and Rebekah Joseph to our conversation. These are next generation PharmDs. And Ashley, you spend your time inspiring people for this engagement. And clearly the COVID pandemic affects us all, 300 million plus. But I've seen some incredible things coming from you in terms of your engagement with individuals. It's not just pharmacists, because everyone needs to be a caregiver at this time when we're dealing with a pandemic. So can you share a little bit about the wonderful things that you have done and are kind of pivoting to do now with the pandemic?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, thanks for having me. It's funny, a lot of people talk to me about inspiration and talk to me that I do that. And that it's kind of interesting, because it's not my intention to inspire per se. It's my intention to allow people to understand that, you need to be intentional and creative with this unique career ecosystem, especially in today's marketplace that is extremely challenging and twisty and shifting from a traditional marketplace to really a non-traditional environment. These new companies that our friends are talking about on this podcast alone, I mean, those things weren't really existent 10, 20, 30 years ago. So we're shifting gears and having to really refocus on how we accomplish medication management, or teaching our patients, or the whole entire umbrella of healthcare is just drastically changing. So my clients range from pharmacists to physicians to healthcare administrators to any high-level healthcare provider. And I'm teaching them the ways of how to modify their expertise in different ways. So kind of, they are the expert, but essentially, how do you get your expertise across in this new digital, unique, non-traditional mechanism that we're kind of faced with, especially during 2020. I've been doing this for a while, but what 2020 has shown us, and that I've been talking about for years, is we got to get comfortable in these new times and these shifting gears. And I think what 2020 did, amongst many other things, is kind of it pushed us to be creative. It pushed us to utilize our credentials, our expertise in just different mechanisms and different pathways. So I work with my clients to teach them how to provide expertise and communicate their expertise to their clients, to their patients, or to whomever it is that they serve.
Wonderful. Todd, I know you watch the clock. I know we're going to make a mention to one of our valued sponsors, but when we come back, Rich, I'd love for you to touch on, you mentioned diabetes in passing. For me, it's not passing. To me, it's a passion. The diabetic the challenges before COVID were horrific. It's a terrible disease. It doesn't kill you, but all the complications that can be avoided with proper management is what kills you. So I'd like you to talk about what the extraordinary things you're doing for those diabetic, and you talk about remote patient monitoring, and we are very much committed to using our pharmacists to do the outreach and do RPM and chronic care management. I will share a little bit about my background after the break. But Todd, if you'd be kind enough to say thank you to some of our valued sponsors at this point.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you to CE Impact for being a constant supporter of the Pharmacy Podcast Network and what they're doing to advance education and how they have prepared coincidentally before this pandemic hit, and how much this means now to pharmacists on the go. be able to tap into their programs and be able to take a quick continuing education course on a multitude of different subjects that are very specific to pharmacists in different sectors: community, long-term care, senior care, geriatrics, pediatrics. They really drill down into everything. So they have a podcast that comes out called Game Changers once a week on Tuesdays. And they're also sponsoring the Year in Gear, which is December 30th, 2020 at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is really an empowerment event for pharmacists that are very tired and are experiencing the fatigue of this pandemic. So I just want to give a shout out to Suzanne and Jennifer, who lead CE Impact and what they do, not only for our industry, but specifically for the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Well, thank you, Todd. They're great people, and actually, every pharmacist is fatigued. Every healthcare person, every human being is fatigued. You know, over the last couple of days, as retailers have tried to get their business back in sync, and Black Fridays and Cyber Mondays and all that other stuff, I got a notification from Vistaprint. I'll put this up. I don't know whether you can see it, but several years ago, we did something, and our model of concierge pharmacist, Rich, is to collaborate with the physician. 6 years ago, I decided that I needed more patient-centric care, and I couldn't get it in a CVS health environment. So I went across the street to my doctor, and I said, when I grow up, I want to do what you do. I want to listen to patients. I want to be able to be respected as a valued healthcare provider. I really want to collaborate with you as a doctor, and I want to work in your office one day a week because I'm off on Pharmacy Fridays. I don't work at CVS. And I want to get paid for the patient outcomes that we do, but through your direct supervision. I don't need to be recognized as a provider because our legislation doesn't seem to want to think that we even are. I want the patients to know that pharmacist cares. And I want to be able to work around your hours, not mine. And I want to be able to practice my profession at the height of my diploma. If I'm not dispensing medication, I want to be a care provider. I just want to help the patient and work for the patient. And then I want to help you increase your reimbursement. So the concierge approach to healthcare, which I started 6 years ago, just because I needed to save my own life, I was clinically depressed. I had lost my father-in-law. And you mentioned chronic care management, Rich. I believe I was the first pharmacist in the country to do chronic care management in 2015 when CMS came out with the 99490. But I didn't do it as a call center. I did it in the office because I believe healthcare needs to be face-to-face to establish that relationship. And of course, it's grown and all the RPM codes. And now we do 24-hour, 7-day-a-week real-time monitoring with a company called Diabetes for diabetic care. And we're able to monitor not only their blood glucose, but also their medication titrations. And we're able to save their life. If you know Diabetes, they have been around for many years, a research company out of Emory and research down in Atlanta. And we're very fortunate to strategically align with them. And we're going to be in a high glucose monitor, a blood glucose monitor, going to put a pharmacist in the box, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We're going to put a pharmacist in the box of every glucose monitor sold so that patient not only gets the tool, but gets a pharmacist to basically be their buddy. We call it the DiaBuddy Club. And it's really important that we have more people in the DiaBuddy Club because there are only 36 million maybe diabetic patients and maybe another 7 million who aren't even diagnosed. And there are only 6,000 endocrinologists around. What's wrong with that number? So we want to be at DiaBuddy. And I'd love for you to speak towards what you're doing for diabetic care because it really touches my heart. And I'd love to align our resources any way that we can to assist in that initiative if interested.
To tell you the truth, we're on the same page here. For me, pharmacists have been cheated out of the healthcare system. We use our pharmacist, our local family pharmacy, as a healthcare provider because he knows about the medications. I have a daughter with a chronic disease and she takes lots of meds. And, without the pharmacist knowing exactly what's going on with her medications, we wouldn't have the connections to the healthcare system that we need. So pharmacists, I believe, are really key to managing health and chronic disease. When you talk about diabetes, you can control diabetes. I've been in clinical research, like I told you, for a long time. And back in the 90s, I helped launch diabetic and cardiovascular drugs and did epidemiology work prior to launching. That was the model that we had. We did big primary care clinical trials in the real world. And we got doctors to give us their next 10 patients who came in with diabetes and tell us what drugs they're on, take a blood sample, send it in, and we're going to do an analysis of glucose and HbA1c, and we'll tell you what works and what doesn't. And you should see the data. This is going back into the late 90s now, but the data was all over the map. Not one doctor prescribed the same thing for 2 patients in a row. And nobody really knew exactly how everything was working. And the pharmacist probably did. And the data is there because the insurance companies know too. And the pharmacists and the insurance companies are well connected with technology. But the doctors have always been over here. And the patients are way out here on technology. So what you're talking about here with these new phone-based systems that we can use Bluetooth and connect with a glucometer, connect with an oxygen monitor, connect with a blood pressure cuff, connect with a scale. Now we have a window into a person's life so we don't lose them when they walk out of the doctor's office. Pulling the patient back into the data world is the key to long-term health. And medication management, like we were saying over here, Ashley, the medication therapy management programs that you're trying to get patients to comply with, is the real key to being successful in an integrated care model. Reimbursement has been the challenge for all of this stuff. So in 2015, when CCM just started, I had a software company called Intellisante, and we had an app called C3 HealthLink, Connect, Control, Collaborate for C3. Nobody wanted to do it. The only way that anybody really wanted to do it is if I did it for them through a whole telephone bank and having medical managers and assistants do the chronic care management. Having a professional pharmacist, phenomenal. New rules in 17 changed a lot of the reimbursements and allowed us to actually put it in place. And that's where we're at with New Gen Health, doing the same thing that you're kind of doing. I don't have a pharmacist involved. We had a pharmacy on the site, but again, you know, the PBMs and the contractual arrangements that you need to have with all the insurance companies makes it very, very difficult to have a single site pharmacy, especially when you've got all the other players integrated at CVS and Walgreens goes and buys Rite Aid. So they're all one. And the insurance companies and CVS are one product company now. So this whole, crunched at the top and disintegrated at the bottom in terms of data and management, we have to change that model. And I believe, Ashley, we're all in this call right now on the same page of bringing the patient, the doctor, and the pharmacist, and the real on-the-ground healthcare people, caregivers as well, especially caregivers who are completely left out as well. How do we make this care team? And what we're doing is providing this doctor partnership that gives patients what they need in places that makes it convenient for them. So when we put the technology in as a foundation, so now you have the connection, and this is where Ashley's whole business is. When you connect the patient and the doctor in a technology environment, now you've got them. Ask Mark Zuckerberg how that works. Works pretty good. And then you can start providing those services that the patient needs to manage their care. So for diabetes, like I said before, you need an ophthalmology visit. CMS pays for it. We're putting ophthalmology practice at the endocrinology center. And we're putting a podiatrist at the endocrinology center. And we've got a neurologist, and we're teaming with a whole cardiovascular group because all these diabetics have cardiovascular issues, obesity issues. And let's talk about mental health. Amazing. No one talks about mental health. And how do you integrate mental health within this when your data systems at the hospital level don't even allow mental health data systems and medical data systems to communicate with each other? So mental health, 40% of diabetics have depression. Why? Of course, life is hard when you have diabetes. And now COVID's here. And, you know, if you have diabetes and you're overweight, you have cardiovascular issues, you are like a buffet for COVID.
You're me. That as I know, I take that. I'm obese. And again, when you say, how do you address these issues? I've taken a perspective as I built this business model with the help of Dr. Crystal Cruz and Dr. Jason Cavallina, and as a supporter of Todd, as we've been partnering to market this message, is we're pharmacist benefit managers. By not dispensing that medication, we remove the challenges and the horrific devilish combination of that. And we put that pharmacist into that care team. And maybe it took having my both knees and hips replaced, and maybe it took a 3-level interior fusion to realize that. But from the neck up, that's really where that pharmacist can make the most difference.
Yeah,
really where we can collaborate. And I haven't had the pleasure of working with Ashley one-on-one, but I believe in today's world, the Ashley RX model of really having that individual practice his or her brand and his or her expertise at the height. There is no limit to what can be done in a COVID world when all we want to do is focus on helping the patient. You mentioned all the extra services you're adding. I'll suggest that we add audiology, because I found out recently through the fact, and I am not diabetic, but I found out by listening to audiology people, because my hearing is going, that the nerves in your ear, just like peripheral neuropathies, we know the standard things about your podiatry. And I mean, I have peripheral neuropathies about that, but I didn't realize I was losing my hearing because of an extension of the peripheral neuropathies, that there are nerve endings in your ear as well. So all of the collaborative services, if put under one roof, as you're doing, and then incorporating that pharmacist component, that we don't care where they get their medication. Let them get it at Walgreens, CVS, and Amazon. It's too easy to get. It's a commodity. It's a commodity. Yeah. And when Amazon comes to the door and they're here, there are lots of smiles on the outside of those boxes, but that's a commodity. We want to put a smile in the box, and that's that pharmacist component. And Todd and I always talk about the concierge approach, that the pharmacist is the hub of healthcare. I believe that in my heart, Rich, and I believe that through collaboration, that's the key to the new pandemic, that we can bring more awareness that we can do, and we can save lives by working together.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Come back to the topic of focus, and that is what Ashley built when I first met Ashley and recruited her to the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and got to see her speak in person at the California Pharmacist Association's annual event. One of the topics that she was driving to those participants was individual focus and purpose, and how pharmacists were being burnt out by lack of purpose, and understanding that it's not the retail environment that's burning you out, it's your expectations of yourself, and it's the expectations of yourself within your career as a vehicle to reaching more patient lives, that those patient lives are literally on the line of life and death, relying on you as a pharmacist to keep them alive. And those are the most chronic of patients. So when I think of people that are doing exactly what Ashley's doing, actually, there's not very many of them because we need more Ashleys. It's that focus. This blog that she wrote on November 22nd, 2020, which I'm going to reference again in a future couple of the tweets that we do. But Ashley, would you talk to us just for a second as we talk about all the clinical side of pharmacists and pharmacy and everything? Really, it comes back to aligning yourself first before you have any capability of helping anyone else. It's really starting at square one. So can you kind of open up about your philosophy around focus and purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and thanks for talking about, the content. I just think it's really important that we take a step back, and as pharmacists, as clinicians, I don't think we're taught to think or taught to think as independents. We're taught to put the patient first and go to work and do what we're hired to do. So traditional pharmacists as a W-2 employee, go to work, and that's what you do. You do what you're told. You kind of follow what your boss tells you to do and follow the metrics and follow the rules and do no harm and make sure you get the right medication to the right patient.
Right.
And I agree with that concept. There's no doubt about any of those things. However, what the marketplace has shown us and what these new patients have evolved, expectations of clients, of patients, of paying people, of healthcare has evolved. So what we as pharmacists, and I guess, speaking for myself, what happened for me is I was like, I have so much knowledge about so much information about so much of healthcare. Where can I expedite this? Where can I put this to make an impact? And I think once everyone has a different idea of what success means to them or how they want to have a place in healthcare. And what I think holds a lot of pharmacists back is we're told or we're taught, like, you just go down this path and you put your head down and you just listen to what you're told. And no, you can't touch the patient. And no, you don't have a say on our team. And no, you don't have a seat here. And I to my core, to my bones, I just disagree with that sentiment. So what I'm doing in my business over the past several years has been to teach my clients how to take that ownership back and how to make an impact. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about metrics and any fancy lingo that we're talking about here. It's really about the patient care and the impact that each one of us are making on lives. So I teach my clients to develop what excites them, like what is going on. There's so much burnout happening in healthcare. I mean, it's like staggering statistics, right? There's not a lot of clinicians coming to me saying like, oh my gosh, I have so many opportunities. I'm so excited. This is just the best marketplace to be in. Well, I get some of those clients and they need support too. But I think the majority of people who come to me who are like, I have so much knowledge. I have so much information. I'm just dying to get it out into the environment, into making an impact on people, on humans. And so I'm like, all right, let's do this. What excites you? What is your area of expertise? And, we have pharmacists that have never touched a pill before. They're like, I have no idea anything about pills, but I'm really good at writing in journals. So let's help you start getting on the ground running on how you can be more visible as a medical writer, because there's medical writers out there with no medical background. And it's amazing to me. It's like, those people are amazing because they've learned the art of how to talk like a clinician or talk like a medical person, but they have no medical background. So I'm teaching the clinicians that come to me like, you can do this too. You just need to understand how to market yourself. Or on the opposite spectrum, there's, clinicians who come to me who have this integrative medical management approach, holistic medicine. Right after this podcast, I'm talking to one of my clients who's a quote unquote wellness pharmacist. And I'm like, what's a wellness pharmacist? Well, there's so many things. So, getting her the tools on how she can build a marketable business and thrive in her career and help millions of people. I mean, not millions at this point, but she will help millions. Give it a couple of years. But I've true, strong intentions that the people who stay focused, the clinicians who are aware of the impact level that they want to make, I mean, they're killing it right now. And cash paying businesses is really the way to go in healthcare because people want transparency. They have high expectations, so they're willing to pay a high top dollar for the value of service that they're going to get. And I'm trying to teach that to, my clinicians that want to, go above and beyond just the traditional role of a pharmacist. Now, how do we serve indigent population? How do we serve the less fortunate? That's by creating online courses for a very inexpensive price. I mean, we can have grants. I have so many ideas. It's beyond. But the reality is I'm just one person teaching clinicians how to think differently. And I appreciate you, Ken, saying that I inspire people. My intention is to teach people how to actually build a brand and build a marketable business so they can get paid for being an expert. It doesn't matter what you're an expert in. So that's kind of like, that's the model.
It's a wonderful model. And actually, it extends on what we've always looked at. We think that education is the backbone of knowledge. So we educate, then we empower. You have to educate and then not put people on the side of the road to say, go figure it out. We have to give them the tool that they need. And then, of course, I believe inspiration does come in. You need to have people who
clients' hands. I tell them, like, you have this vision and how to make an impact. Now we need to get from A to B, and how are we going to do that? And that's strategy, and that's marketing, and creating a system, a roadmap to hold people's hands. So the really, really smart, intelligent people with the clinical skills, with the actual training, with the actual information, direct patient care knowledge can actually be doing the work. Because quite frankly, I got to a point where I was just tired of listening to people who just didn't know what they were talking about, selling themselves and making millions. I was like, wait a minute, why aren't my friends and I doing this? This is insane. So that's kind of where my 2015 journey started with all of this, of how do we get people who are really actually the competent, talented, passionate people in those front lines roles actually getting paid, and not just some capped limits of what you're capable of. And that's really where the transition goes from traditional to non-traditional, which is, in my opinion, now going to be the new traditional place because of COVID. And we've had to shift. We've had to shift how we are. We've had to shift education. We've had to shift to Zoom calls like we're doing today.
Well, if the Top Podcast Network offers a family and friends discount, you and I will talk. We'll have your people call my people. Rich, I saw in your bio a relationship with DNA HealthLink. I started with pharmacogenomics about 5 years ago when my father-in-law suffered an adverse drug reaction. And I've been passionate about raising awareness to say that a simple cheek swab test can get the right medication, the right dose, and get it right from the beginning. Can you share with us your vision on personalized medicine? Because I believe that your expertise and your knowledge would be very valuable to share with our listeners.
Well, sure. Medicine's always been personal to every patient that's ever had a disease. And the healthcare system hasn't been personalized because it's been generalizable. And the FDA requires generalizable results to get any drugs approved. But as you suggest, our genetic variations can cause us to react to medicines differently. And the differential reaction that we have to whether it's we don't react or we overreact, those are two bad things. You have too many adverse events where it doesn't control your disease. And pharmacogenomics has been a big player in that. Again, reimbursement's always been a question on that. And the laboratory just developed tests, LDTs. This was a whole big push back in 2015 to do these tests. But then the FDA cracked down and said LDTs aren't reimbursed by CMS. And there's only a couple of drugs that are selected, like blood clot thinners, for example, that when you test 50% of the people might not respond. Therefore, it's worth testing everyone before they go on an expensive drug. But your concept is absolutely right. And where we can do this is in cancer. And we've got personalized cancer therapies from new Generex Immuno-Oncology. And that allows us to do genetic analysis of a tumor and find the antigens from the tumor that are specific to that patient. And with IIT, we can attach the IIT to those specific antigens in that patient's tumor and do personalized cancer therapy. There's money there and plenty of money to deal with kind of thing like that. But when you get into diabetes care, for example, are you going to respond to some glitazone, right? Are you going to be, is your genetics going to allow you to respond to that? Right now, it's always trial and error with most medications in chronic disease. Doctor gives you the medicine. Let's wait 3 months, see if it works, especially in mental health. Again, my system, my C3 HealthLink system was directed towards the mental health business. And I did a lot of work in the mental health space because the drugs in CNS disorders have to be very, very carefully monitored. And if you stop taking your drugs, if you find somebody that's not being compliant, with bipolar disorder, there's really serious consequences that occur if you don't take the drugs. It's not just that your blood pressure goes up a little bit. You can get into a psychotic episode and end up in the hospital. So that was a real area for us to look at medication therapy management in a mental health setting. But that should be applicable across the board. And it has to be personalized to the person. That's why we set up goals. And I think to Ashley's point that she made before, hand-holding is really important on a personalized basis, and finding out individuals' goals and having them set those goals with you as a collaborative care provider. You set the goal with the patient, you have the team knowing the goal, and everybody works towards that goal. And there's responsibility on the patient part to take your medicine, to take a walk, to meet the challenges that you set for yourself in goals. And if we can get the healthcare community to be on the same page on goals, then we're all going to win. But all of this has to go towards how are we going to pay for all this healthcare when the focus is on health and not on sickness. I think there's been a big problem with our healthcare system for a long time. And the reason that our healthcare system is much more expensive than other countries is our focus on treating sickness rather than maintaining health. If we can maintain health through this personalized medicine approach and this personalized mental health approach as well, mental health of taking care of yourself and having the desire to be healthy, then we can all benefit from reimbursement models like these accountable care organizations, which have had very mixed success right now. And because I don't believe that it's been a team effort, it's been pieces of providers into an accountable care organization, but not focused directly on the patient. There's still a provider focus on the reimbursement side, not a patient focus. And when we get the patient focus at the end of the day on health and get insurance companies and CMS to recognize the value of health over this value of treating sickness, then we can get to the point that we're all talking about here.
One of the most important opportunities that came my way was meeting a gentleman named Peter Bechtel, who was the president of WellTrack One and is now our partner with Care One. Peter formed a risk management company back 8 or 9 years ago. And really the preventative medicine, the risk assessment, the annual wellness visits and the extension of them is really where I felt once the moment I met him that that's where a pharmacist should be. Because we are even now the tail of the dog of healthcare. We don't even get an opportunity. We just let them to make sure that drug isn't going to kill somebody. And when it's our license on the line for people who are making errors at dispensing, not at dispensing, at prescribing. I think there are more errors done at prescribing than there are ever at the great work that the pharmacists do, under horrific retail environment scenarios. But back to Peter Bechtel, I looked at that platform as the opportunity to become scalable, because you always need technology, and he had the technology built into an iPad. So when he approached me, and he heard me on the Pharmacy Podcast Network, thank you, Todd Yuri, call out, and he says, I found that you're someone who could put a pharmacist in a physician's office with no out-of-pocket expense, because that's our model. There is no expense to us. We generate revenue for them, and through compliant business agreements, we extract a flat fee for that service, compliant. We're not fee sharing or anything else like that. And CMS wanted that with chronic care management. They asked for third parties. Yeah. So it's not like I wasn't going against the trend. I was following the code. People who chase the code are out of business. People who follow the code grow. And we did. And Peter and I spoke, and I said, this is the perfect partnership, because he was already in 3,000 practices and ACOs, hospitals, clinics, et cetera. And our business was more of a grassroots initiative. We're self-funded, and it was my entity. So I said, this is perfect, because it allows us to address what I believe is the information that is lacking. What's really going on with that patient? What is his or her, the things they don't even have time to speak to the doctor in the 6 minutes that they see them in fast food healthcare. So we became that extension, and we created a PharmD Concierge model where we deliver everything from behavioral health screenings and cognitive screenings, advanced care planning. Who would have thought the word respirator would be in our vocabulary, 9 months ago? But we have to have those conversations. We have to use that. And if it's covered by Medicare, and they put a tremendous amount of money because they can't afford these people to get sick. Why wouldn't we as pharmacists embrace the preventative risk assessments and then put our expertise with medication reconciliation, with comprehensive reviews, with pharmacogenomics, and we do get paid for the consultations and the review of that information, not the test. If you chase the test, you're talking kickbacks and stock and all that other crap. And it's pennies. It's pennies, you're right. So anyway, I'm inspired by forward-thinking people who don't stay in the box, people who say that there is a better way. The Moanas of the world, the people who say, I'm going to go past that cliff. I'm going to go past because there's something out there. I'm driven. I'm the Moana of healthcare, okay, of pharmacy, not of healthcare, because I'm just. No, you're gonna have to fight me for. You could be Elsa. You could be Elsa, and
I'd rather be Anna.
Okay, you want to be Anna? Yeah, the good sister. No, but if my granddaughter Emily, when I come up there at 7:45 on every Friday, and I say, Emily, what, Grandpa Kenny, what do you want to do? And then she says, let's watch Moana. With all due respect, Ashley, you have a tough fight on your hands, and I'm Moana. Okay, I'm also what's the other guy? Maui, because I'll say you're welcome when all the CVS technicians who now get paid for their training because they do, they can say you're welcome because I had something to do with that. I'm not going to share how, and if all the pharmacy floaters who now get paid for their salary, I'm not going to say how, but you're welcome because when I was at CVS, I wouldn't let things happen that were wrong. Okay, mothers who would go on FMLA and come back and not have a job. Hello, now you do.
Seriously, in fairness to people who feel stuck, I get it. I have a family.
Yep.
I have a mortgage. I have very expensive student loans, right? And between my husband and I, it's scary. And I think it's the new generation issue as to how to balance thriving in your career while still managing extensive student loans plus a thriving lifestyle that you deserve because you've worked hard. And I think that's where generations collide. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck as to how do we build a career, go in this non-traditional path, but yet still keep up with adulting, paying your bills. And so I think I'm in the middle of that. I think it's about being realistic with yourself, but also working freaking hard and not allowing bullies to say you're not doing it right. Your way is the wrong way. And you don't have a seat here. You shut up. So I just think there's that fine line of feeling stuck in the position that you're in with this traditional healthcare setting because it's quote unquote safe and secure, which it's not, or that going out on your own and making this amazing career path that you're proud of. Now, I've cheated the path. You have to understand. I'm third generation pharmacist. My grandfather was a pharmacy independent owner. My dad was this insane pharmacy guru that this is why I am the way I am. I always saw non-traditional pharmacy. So I didn't have that traditional mindset going into pharmacy. I always knew there's no way I'm going to do the traditional side. I just always had the intention. So I've kind of cheated a little bit. So my job here is to make an impact on some of the clinician side as to saying, hey, there's different ways to do what you want to do to execute your skill. And you just got to trust the system, trust the path, that it's going to take some maneuvering, but as long as you have a vision on how you want to make an impact, then it's going to work. And, I've worked with thousands of people now who can vouch for that.
Ashley, if I can ask you to put on your calendar next Friday at the same time, same station, where you will welcome and hear how we have obliterated that line by creating the first Mommy and Me for my friend and my partner, Dr. Crystal Cruz, who is an extraordinary pharmacist who is going on maternity leave. And she will not only maintain, but continue to earn revenue by working at home as a Mommy and Me. And also, we will be announcing our student debt relief program for the next generation and existing pharmacists. And looking at people in the room, Keri Mastro and Rebekah Joseph, these are P4 students who are the charter members of the Student Debt Relief Program, where we will help them pay back the chronic disease state of student debt. So through the help of Todd Urey and the Pharmacy Podcast Network, who is our marketing partner and has been and will always be, we will be announcing that. And Keri and Rebekah, if you want to show your faces and just say this is not something that we just sprung on, it's something we've been discussing. Keri, if you're there and can say hello, or Rebekah. But Ashley, all the things that we think that we can't do, we're doing. And I would be happy to share some of that vision, which is a reality, with you anytime, because I really respect everything you do tremendously. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This was a great show. Todd, what do you think? How did I do as Lauren Michaels getting this producers and putting great people? Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I want to thank Meredith, who set this up, and Ari, the people who put this together behind the scenes. Sometimes they don't come up in front, but it's been a pleasure to get to know you and learn more about GenRx and the new GenRx. I think what you're doing are incredible, important things by bringing safety, vaccine, and solutions to the market when we need it the most. And I just want to thank you. And the more that I know, the more dangerous I can be. So I look forward to speaking with you and learning more about your companies at any time.
Thanks, Ken. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Todd, for putting this on. Thanks, Ashley, for joining us here. And anybody who wants to learn more about GenRx, go to GenRx.com or New GenRx IO for New GenRx Immuno-Oncology, NewGenRxIO.com. And there's a lot more information on our websites about our company and the things that we're doing, both in COVID and in our new, I guess, our new way of looking at healthcare in a collaborative way. And really great to talk to you guys. Thank you very much for the time today.
It's our pleasure. And I'd love to introduce you around your schedule to the CEO of Diasis, because I believe what you're doing in Arizona, there is an RPM on steroids, remote patient monitoring solution, that I think can enhance anything. And I think just learning and sharing information with a gentleman like Chun would be, for the two of you, just to have some great knowledge transfer. And I look forward to setting that up with you at your convenience.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And there's Keri Mastro, my co-host. It's nice to see you, as always, on Pharmacy Friday. Thank you so much, dear, for being here. And, it's all about the next generation, right, Keri?
That's right. And thank you for having me. I truly enjoyed listening in on today's show, and pleasure to meet you, Rich. And it was a pleasure to hear Ashley's perspective and all that they're doing for the healthcare profession and these different models. It's really a pleasure. And I enjoyed learning about it.
Todd, if you have time for another call out for one of our great sponsors, and then otherwise, then it's a wrap, as they say in the business.
Thank you very much, guys.
Take care, Rich. Thank you, sir.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
Your RxC.
My name is Tyler Young. I'm a pharmacist at Heinz Prescription Shop, and we've been in business for over 40 years. Our pharmacy is known for keeping our patients' health our number one priority, offering exceptional service, and really just being involved in bettering the health of the community. So prior to purchasing the Rapid Pack, we were just manually bubble packaging patients. And we had kind of reached capacity with that program. We were packaging about 35 to 40 people, and it was just a constant game of catch up. We chose the Rapid Pack over the competition because of the all-in-one concept, the built-in vision inspection. It came with the icon, and it also allowed us to offer strip packaging without having to purchase extra inventory because of the universal cartridges. So our workflow now is more organized than with our previous packaging solution. It's a lot easier to keep up with who is actually getting packaged. They're in a set facility, and it helps us keep our workflow more organized. So the Rapid Pack has improved patient adherence. Patients are more compliant when they're getting their medications packaged exactly how they're supposed to take it. And that in turn improves our star ratings and helps lower DIR fees. Rapid Pack has helped improve our DIR fees across the board. Previously, we were 3 to 4 stars in each category, and now we're anywhere from 4 to 5 stars in each category. So that's lowering our DIR fees by a good percentage. Rapid Pack has helped us improve our pharmacy brand specifically among providers in the area. We become their go-to pharmacy for their adherence solutions. We're helping them solve some of their problem patients by getting them synced up, taking their medications correctly, and overall bettering their health, which helps the doctors as well. Originally, our strip packaging search began when we lost a patient to Amazon PillPack. We realized then that we needed to get on board with some kind of packaging solution. And now that we have the Rapid Pack here, patients are more likely to stay with us instead of reach out to a mail order pharmacy that they have no real contact with. Right now, we're adding 5 to 10 new patients on our packaging program every month. The estimated cost difference between our previous packaging solution and the Rapid Pack is about 50% savings. Before, it was costing anywhere from $10 to $15 per patient, just between the cost of materials and labor. And now, because of the price of materials for the Rapid Pack and how quick we can process jobs, we've cut that down to about $7. The Rapid Pack has also increased revenue because we are filling more scripts per year for each patient. Usually the average for somebody who's not synced is about anywhere from 8 to 9 fills per year, whereas with a sync program and packaging, you can increase that to 12 to 13 fills per year. Our profit has improved tremendously. Each patient that we package can net anywhere from $50 to $75, but more than just the profit, it's helped improve patient adherence, which is lowering our DIR fees. That's increasing revenue as well. Yes, we were able to take advantage of the Section 179 IRS tax savings. We were already looking for a strip packaging solution anyway, but the savings was an added bonus. We were able to depreciate the entire cost of the robot at one time, which helped save us on taxes in the year 2019. We recommend Rapid Pack over the competition, really because we feel like you get the best value for your money. It comes with the all-in-one vision inspection. You don't have to purchase additional equipment, and the universal cartridges really help you not have to purchase additional inventory to store in the robot, which is a nice bonus.
Hey, thank you so much. Podcasting has been a passion of mine, and it's brought together so many of our hosts, and now we're interconnecting each other. So thank you so much for everything that you've done, Ken. Thank you, Keri, for being part of this. Thank you for the support, and we're out with another successful Pharmacy Friday.
Peace out. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
What would we do without pharmacists working hard and saving lives? Checking the meds, immunize, it's not that hard to realize. We owe a big thanks to our pharmacist friends. Antihistamines make you sleepy. Methamphetamine make you hyper. Benzodiazepines relax you. It's all on Pharmacy Friday. It's all on Pharmacy Friday.